I know you're glad you're here today.
Yes.
So, last week we started a series of Christing our human behavior. And last Sunday, we spoke about the Judas syndrome. And that was a difficult one, wasn't it? It was maybe not about you, maybe it was about somebody you knew. Today, it's all about you. This is every single one of you, so don't even squirm, don't run for the door. It's about you. All right, we're going to talk about Peter. So, and as we work, we know that all these disciples, we have to hold them in high esteem because they gave up their lives to follow Jesus. So it was we don't say anything to reduce their value. We are learning from their personalities. So, you ready to learn? Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. Let's just see. I want to start with, in the Aquarian Gospel, when Jesus and Peter first met, just like we did with Judas. This is in chapter 66. And it's verses 15 through 17. So Jesus has been baptized by John, and this is at the very, very beginning of his ministry in Israel with his people. So John has several disciples that are following with him and studying with him. And there was a group of them that had been looking for the Christ. They knew the Christ was coming. And so Peter was one of them. So it says in the book, Peter said to Jesus, Peter approached Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "We have long sought for Christ. We came from Galilee to John. We thought that he was the Christ, but he confessed to us that he was not, that he was but the harbinger. And when you came, he said, 'Behold the Christ.' We would gladly follow where you go. Lord, tell us what to do." And so he's speaking on behalf of he and his brother and James and John, his brothers Andrew, and Nathaniel, and there was a little crew. Philip was there. So he's speaking on behalf of his crew. Then Jesus explains to him, where I'm going is not safe. There's no place to lay your head. You're going to be walking with no security. And then Peter said this, "I cannot speak for any other man, but for myself I will speak. I will leave all and follow where you lead." So I wanted us to begin by understanding the faith that Peter had inside. Peter actually was ready to follow a new belief system. He had been schooled in the prophecies, and he knew it was time. There was a new energy coming to the planet. He knew it was time, and he was actually looking for the Christ. Do you see? So he had a connection with God. He had a connection with God and a willingness to act on that. That's pretty powerful, isn't it? All right. So Peter had already connected with Spirit, and he had a connection that was very strong. Now, he studies with Jesus for a couple of years, and then Jesus is picking his 12. Can you imagine being one of the very first ones that walked with Jesus, one of the very first ones, and now he's got 100 disciples, and it's time for him to select the inner 12. And he tells everybody, I need to meditate, I need to talk to God, because I need to actually select the 12. How do you think you would feel if you were Peter? Excuse me? I've been here the whole time. Okay. So everybody goes away, and Peter and the boys, the crew, they're fishermen, so they all go out fishing. So they've been fishing at night, and it's been a lousy catch, and the guys are fixing the nets, and it's just, yeah. Jesus comes out, and as he was wont to do, he got in Peter's boat and pushed out from the shore so people could hear him. So from the boat, he could speak, and people on the shore, the multitudes, could hear him. So they were all waiting for him, so he got out, and he spoke to the multitudes for a minute. And then he said to Peter, Peter, I want you to push out to the deep, and I want you to cast your nets. And this is what it says Peter did. Peter did as Jesus asked, but in a faithless way. He said, "This is a useless trip. There are no fish upon the shore of Galilee today. Andrew and I have worked all night long and taken nothing." But he did it. with gritted teeth. Have you seen yourself yet? Okay. Okay. All right. Of course, Jesus saw beneath the waters. He saw where the fish was, and he said, cast your net on the right side. And so he did, and it was filled instantly. It was not strong enough, barely strong enough to hold all the multitude of fish. So Peter called to John and James for help, and they hauled the net up. It filled both of their boats to overflowing. When Peter saw the heavy catch, he was ashamed of what he had said. He was ashamed because he had no faith. And he fell down at Jesus' feet and he said, Lord, I believe. So, did Peter really have no faith? No, he had faith. He had faith in God. He had faith in the Christ. He just didn't have faith enough to know that Jesus could see beyond the world of illusion, that Jesus could see the matter. He just did not have faith that strong. Okay, we're starting to lay some groundwork here. I hope you're seeing it. Sometimes your faith is not as strong as the matter that you see. Okay? Even though you have faith in self and you have faith in God, sometimes it is not as strong. So we all know the story about, this is in chapter 124, down the road a bit. Of course, he picks his 12 disciples and they're starting their ministry. So down the road a bit, there is a storm, and Jesus has been on the shore walking alone because he needed to get away for a while. He would always get away for a while. So he's walking alone, and a storm is rocking the ship, and John looks out and sees a figure walking on the water. Y'all remember the story? And John says, that's the Lord. And Peter says, Lord, if that's you, call me forward and let me walk on the water with you. And so the form said to him, come forth. So Peter got out of the boat, and we talk about this all the time. Peter got out of the boat and stood on the water and started walking toward this form that was Jesus. Now, how much faith did it take to get out on the boat? A lot of faith. And do you think his mind was going 90 to nothing? In that moment, he was so excited to see Jesus walking on the water. If that's you, call me forth. He had faith in the God in him, had faith in God, he had faith in Jesus. He walked out, and then he looked at the water and went, oh my God. When his eyes saw matter, when he looked at the matter, he started to drop. And Jesus said to him, oh, ye of little faith. You all know the scripture. Oh, ye of little faith, why did you doubt? Why did you doubt? And Jesus grabbed his hand and walked him to the boat. So here we have this beautiful demonstration of what a wow demonstration, right? Really stepping out in faith in God, faith in myself to do it, faith in everything, and then letting matter become stronger. Feel it? Yeah. All right. I want to take you another step forward. Peter, James, and John were the three inner circle, so they were always around Jesus. And when Jesus started to teach the multitudes about energy, because they started to follow him for food, he had manifested food for them, so they all started to be hungry. I'm going to follow Jesus because he'll keep me fed. And he said, no. I mean, you guys need to understand about energy, that it is the energy I am giving you that is the food. And then he gave the analogy of my blood, my life force is feeding you. And then they all got offended, and many of them turned away. And this is in 125. Like, when you do an analogy and people think you're actually speaking about matter, as Patrick would say. You're speaking about matter. You're speaking about what's been formed already. They think that you're talking about that, but you're doing an analogy or some sort of idiom or something to help them understand energy. And they only see the matter. That's not what I meant. How often do you say, that's not what I meant? I was talking about energy. So Jesus is teaching the multitudes about energy, how energy is food from God, how you can breathe it in. He's teaching them this, and they are sorely offended. So a lot of people in his group that had been following him turned away. It was not just the 12. There was several hundred that would follow, 100 in particular we know of. And many of them turned away at this point. And they just said, this man's crazy. He's crazy. Eat my flesh. What is he talking about? Well, he's not talking about eat my flesh. He's talking about energy. Jesus saw the many who had professed so loud turn away, and he said to the 12, "Will you also desert me in this hour and go away?" And Peter said, "Lord, we have no place else to go. You have the words of everlasting life, and we know you are sent to us from God." In that moment, Peter locked his energy of faith in what he knew and faith in what Jesus was teaching. Do you think he understood energy at that time? No. He did not fully understand what Jesus was teaching. All he knew was, you've got the answers for me. I'm hanging. I'm not leaving. There's no place for me to go. I'm staying here. And then he took us to down the road again. There was a moment where people are all talking about who is Jesus, and Jesus says to his disciples, "Who does man say I am?" And then they say, "Oh, you're the reincarnation of this, Elijah, you're this, you're that." And then he says, "Who do you say I am?" And Peter said, "You are this Christ, the Son of the living God." And for those, you all have heard it. You're the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus says to him, "Flesh and bone did not reveal this to you, but the Father which is in heaven. And you are a rock, Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church." The fact that Peter listened to his own guidance and knew how to define Jesus through his relationship with God. How powerful is that? So he is now acting and connecting that knowing of who he is, the faith that he has in God, the faith that he has in what God reveals to him, and the faith that he has in the mission. How powerfully strong is that? You would think that would be the crescendo of his experience, wouldn't you? The moment. And haven't we all had moments like that? The moments where we're just so connected and we're so one with everything. It's a moment. Yeah. Then things happen. All right. One thing that Spirit reminded me, no matter what was happening in Peter's life, he was never afraid to act out of his current level of consciousness, whatever he believed. I believe I can walk on water, I'm going to try it. I think we should do that, I'm going to try it. And if Jesus was there going fine, he acted out. And Peter had a mouth, which is why I love Peter. If you'll read the scriptures, there's a lot written about Peter. And he was always one to question. He was always one to share his opinion. He was always one to be verbal, which I like about him. And he never took offense when Jesus would steer him a different direction. But oftentimes he came from his level of consciousness, which was a matter focus on matter. So toward the end, when Jesus was preparing them, he said to them, "This is what's going to happen to me. They're going to arrest me and I'm going to be killed." And you all know what Peter said. "Over 12 dead bodies." And Jesus said, "Peter, come on, listen to what I'm saying." And then another time he said the same thing. He's warning them. This is what's going to happen. They're going to arrest me and I'm going to be killed and then I'll raise on the third day. And Peter said, "That's not going to happen, Lord. I can't let that happen." And then there's that famous scripture where Jesus says to Peter, "Get thee behind me, Satan." That's an idiom that means, you're blocking my way, dude. Get out of my way. You're taking me off my path. And Jesus says to Peter, "You have your eye on the things of man and not the things of God. You are not understanding me, so get behind me. Because I'm going to do what I'm going to do." Do you see? Great faith, great knowing, great understanding. But did Peter see the plan? No. But great faith, great knowing, and willingness, "I will give my life for you." Yeah, no, Peter, you're not going to give your life for me. Not yet. You will, but not yet. And then we come up to the Last Supper. Do you remember when he came in, they were having their Last Supper? And I talk to you as if you know these stories, but hang with me, you'll get them. They're in the upper room, and they're doing, this is the Passover. It's Passover, it's a Jewish celebration. And they're doing the rituals, but Jesus is doing slightly different. He says to the disciples, "I want to wash your feet." The feet hold the symbols. They're symbolic of your understanding. I want to wash your feet. I want to humble who I am and wash your feet. And you remember what Peter says? "Oh, Lord, don't wash my feet. I'm not worthy." And then Jesus says to him, "If you don't let me wash your feet, You have no part of me. And then what does Peter say? Wash all of me, Jesus. All of me. The whole body. I'm ready. I want to be a part of you. But do you see how he's not quite following what Jesus is doing? Yet he has a mouth and he verbalizes his level of consciousness. And he's committed 1,000%. He just cannot yet get away from the matter. Just can't see the symbolism of the master washing your feet. Can't see the symbolism. So he approaches everything with that look. So can you imagine that night he takes Peter, James, and John to the high levels at Gethsemane. He teaches them hidden truths that he didn't teach anybody else. They're having these moments with Jesus. It's just amazing. Jesus has already told them what's going to happen. And during the dinner, Jesus, when Peter was again arguing with Jesus, saying, "Oh, I'm going to fight with you." Jesus said, "No, you're not. And as a matter of fact, you're going to deny me 3 times before the cock crows in the morning." And Peter's still like, no. So they're having these beautiful high moments. Then Jesus says it's time. They come down to the garden. And the mob is there to arrest. Now, Peter's already promised, "I'm going to fight for you." Peter's already said, "No, I'm not going to deny you." Peter's already said, "I have enough faith. I got this, and I'm with you, dude." What do you think happened to him when all that went down? He was forewarned many times. He denied that he would allow it to happen many times. When the matter came crashing in around them, the matter was so strong, it put them all in shock. And then when they watched their master succumb and say, "Yes, you can arrest me," they had no reference because they forgot that there was a greater plan. And I want you to think with me for a minute. Think about how we can get we have a Peter moments all the time where we're so connected. But sometimes when matter starts crashing around us so hard, we start looking at the matter going, crap. And we forget the power of God within us, and we forget the power of God around us, and we forget we were warned this was going to happen. We forget this could have a meaning that's greater than where we are. And we just sit there looking at the matter with big eyes in shock. Now, how often do we go there? Fortunately, we're metaphysical Christians. Fortunately, we know in our heart the matter is created, and most of us have the consciousness to phone a friend. I've told you many times, keep people in your phone that you know will pray with you, that you know love you, that you know can say, "Calm down. Let me lift you off that tree limb. I'm going to walk you down. Hold on." Because it happens to every one of us. When the matter crushes in so deeply, we go into shock. Okay? That's the Peter faith. So, let's take him forward. And you all know he did deny Jesus 3 times. But he's watching this thing unfold that he had no frame of reference for. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Oh, if they arrest me, I'm going to be in there too. I can't help. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. But do you think he felt guilty when he heard because he didn't even realize what he was doing when it was happening. He was responding to the matter around him. And he'd lost the vision of spirit. Okay. Think how you would have felt if that had been you. Think how you would have felt about yourself. Do you think you would have thought you were less than? Do you think you would have interpolated it as betrayal, that you betrayed the master, God? We don't know exactly what Peter went through, but we do know this. When Pentecost occurred, which was maybe 40 days later, who knows? They don't really know. But it was the time when the disciples gathered in Jerusalem and they were just inundated with spirit. Spirit, guys. Spirit, not matter. Spirit inundated them. And then everybody around said, "What's wrong with you people? What is going on? There's crazy things happening." And guess who spoke? Guess who stood up and said, "Listen, multitudes. This is the gift from Jesus the Christ to our consciousness, to our people. This is the gift that he is bestowing on us now." Who did that? Peter. Peter did not let the failure, the betrayal, stop his voice from going forward. He did not let the fact that one day I got matter crushing down on me and I went into shock and I did things I wish I hadn't done, but I don't understand them. But he did not let them stop him spiritually. And how often do we do that? We let a moment when we're being crushed against, and we feel we failed. I didn't do what I know I need to do. I didn't live up to my highest expectation. And we dim our light and we shut our voice. Do you see? But he didn't. And Peter was one of the foundations of the faith as it began to grow. You guys know that. Once Jesus ascended, it was Peter and James, Jesus' brother, took over. But Peter did a lot of the groundwork holding everybody together in the Jewish communities. So he was the voice of the work of the Master. So if Peter's the voice of the work of the Master, you too consider that when you have those moments that you would judge yourself. Okay? All right. We're doing this series so we can see patterns. And so this is the pattern that Peter gives us. You guys ready? Did you see yourself yet?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. The awareness. So we do awareness, we do cause, and we do correction. That's what we did last week. Everybody knew that? Okay. The awareness is our awareness takeaway. We forget spirit creates matter. Can you just be aware of that? Spirit creates matter. I forgot that. I thought the rushing waves were created by something else, and they have power over me. I forgot the bill collector that's screaming at me as a child of God, and I forgot. I think he has power over me. I forgot all those things. I forgot that my boss is a child of God and is not the Lord of my being. I forgot that. Pick whatever matter you're having to deal with. We forget that spirit creates matter. We forget that. And the reason we forget is because we're afraid of what's been created. Why? Because we had a part in it. We had a part in creating it. We had a part in creating it, and we're afraid of what we created. And I don't even need to, you guys know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. We get afraid of our creations. Instead of saying, oops, I had a hand in this. Let me remove all the energy that I put into that. I don't want to do this anymore. Let me pull it back. Now I can recreate something new. Now I can have a different experience. We do deal with what we create. There's no doubt about that. But when we realize we had a hand in creating it, it gives us our power to choose differently. If we just look at it and we're afraid of it, where is your power? So we forget to trust the power to lift the outer. We forget that the power within can change the outer. We forget that. All right. The correction. I am divine and God is in charge. How simple is that? When the matter's crushing upon you, I'm divine, God is in charge. Yes, I may have contributed to this, but I no longer wish to play at this level of consciousness. I withdraw my energy. God, help me out here. Help me out here. Lift it up. Jesus said in the text, even before he started the ministry, he said, there is one thing you need to know. Man is spirit, and spirit creates matter. If you really know that, man is spirit, and spirit creates matter, you will never lose your connection to God or your ability to choose again. You see? So, as metaphysical Christians, we know we have a faith in God, right? Creator, we're all created by the same creator. We know that everyone, doesn't matter your faith, everyone is a child of God. Not everybody knows they're a child of God, but everybody is a child of God. And we know in our faith that we are choosing to awaken that divinity within us. We call it sonship, call it the Christ of consciousness. This is what we're trying to do. Awaken the divinity within us so that the connection with the greater is instant and always never severed. I am child of God, I am one with God. I am child of God, I am one with God. That's what we know our goal is, to hold that energy. So when we see when our focus, inner energy, goes outer, and we're not keeping the focus here, is when we lose our faith. It's when we lose our ability to act in faith and to create in faith. Got it? Okay. When we look in, we see the truth. When we look out, we see what has been created. And who created it? Spirit. Spirit creates matter. And Spirit in you participated in creating the details of your life. The Spirit in you participated. You may have given your authority to someone else. We're very complicated. But the Spirit in you participated in creating the details of your life. So if you have matter crushing, what could you do? Recreate. All right. Take a breath. The humanness of life. The humanness of walking the Peter journey. It really starts with stepping out in our consciousness where we are. It starts with acting from what we know to do, whether it's wrong or right. You guys know I have my famous story about my son. I love my story. He was 3. I was making a cake. First time he'd probably ever seen me make a cake. And I said, okay, honey, we need to make the icing now. And I turn around, the little critter is in the freezer getting out ice cubes. I said, baby, what you doing? Well, we're making icing, Mom. And I laughed, and I think it hurt his feelings because he was contributing. Contribute at your level of consciousness. Do the best you can where you are. That will always lift you to a higher space. It'll lift you up, you know? And we may not always understand. I can tell you, honestly, I do not understand the journey of Jesus Christ or the full impact that he had on our lives. I have no idea what he did to the cosmic levels. I have no idea. But I want to learn and I'm willing to learn. But I don't know. And if I can't see that, how can I tell you what it is? I'm going to look here, do my job, keep my eye on what I need to do, respond to my level of consciousness, and keep building my faith. Keep building my energy. So, our takeaway. Spirit creates matter. Do not be afraid of what's coming at you. Pull your energy out of it, you can recreate it. And the correction is always, I'm divine and God is in charge. Do you like Peter? Yes. Simple, easy message, yes? All right, well, let's go within. And God, we open our hearts and we love you so. Father, I ask that a beautiful column of light come over this room, and I ask that beautiful individual columns of light come over each person. And I would invite you all just to begin to visualize a color that's beginning to surround you, the perfect color for you today. And I want you to begin to feel that color nurturing you. Feel the energy just beginning to move into your body, the substance of God love moving into you, who you are. And as you breathe it in, feel the love of God. You have done nothing wrong. You are the child of God. You can always choose again. And feel the heart softening And in your mind, imagine or just pretend that you can feel or sense or see the presence of Jesus Christ standing by you. And feel the love and support. And feel or sense or see the presence of Peter. And just say thank you to Peter. Send your gratitude. Thank you for your strength to step into the unknown. And now feel your heart opening. Feel strength growing within you to also step into the unknown. And for a moment, just feel this is family. This circle of three, you and Jesus and Peter, family. Feel the peace. And just breathe and gently let your focus come back to your body. Feel the chair that holds you. But before you open your eyes, I want you to realize you are sitting in a world of matter. You're in a chair. But you are spirit. And just in your heart say, I am spirit. God and I are one. And spirit creates matter. We're going to take a breath. We're going to bless all the matter around us. Just send gratitude. Thank you for the matter around us, God. And we are ready to step out of the boat. Gently open your eyes. How you feel? It is my prayer that you all not experience the crushing of matter around you. However, you probably will. When you do, remember who you are. Remember the great faith that took you to every moment of your life. Remember who you are. You have not changed. It is just a moment. And recreate it. Say, yay, God.
Yeah.